Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling, shall we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today, where we'll be vibing out as per usual. I don't really have much of a way to start that sentence. You might be like, hey, how did the writing group go yesterday? I thought it was pretty good. Everyone wrote, surprisingly quite, I shouldn't say surprisingly, because, okay, wait, maybe I should finish the sentence first. Surprisingly light-hearted and quite funny and amusing stories, and then I was going to be like, surprisingly. But the more I think about it, it's not really surprising, because normally I'm kind of a one who tends to write like heavy, very dramatic things. And normally a lot of other people spring for much more light-hearted comedic, which is totally fair. You know, people have different tastes. No, as I say, I don't mean to necessarily try and insinuate one is better than the other. But anyway, hello there everyone, right now on Fawnhallow at 6:06 PM on Wednesday, February 8th, 2023. So that was a lot of fun. one of them was a rap, and you might be like, wow, a rap? That's certainly a strange thing, and because we all take turns sort of like reading out the stories, I volunteered to do rap. I thought I did an okay job. I don't really know how it was from audience perspective, but it was fun, to say the least. It was quite a fast BPM rap, and if anything, perhaps my YouTube videos has contributed to my ability to be able to rap. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think it's probably all the musical training I've done since I was younger. If anything, was to help contribute to that fact. But it's just fun to think about. Anyway, what else can we talk about? I don't really know. I'm a bit tired today. I went to sleep a little bit too late last night. I'm not usually someone who tries to stay up that late. Like, I would say, how many hours of sleep do I need to be able to function normally? I would say I need at least 6, probably. Is that about right? Let me think. Hold on. Yeah, somewhere from like 5 or 6. I will function fine, is probably what I'd say. I won't function like at my peak, I would say, and I probably would not be able to handle, if I had like I'm trying to think, like in like a really super busy day, like if it was just before like an exam day or something, like my GCSEs, and I had like 3 exams in one day. I don't think that would be particularly a great idea for me to only get 5 hours sleep or something. But I'm going to change about 6. I think 6 hours sleep is fine, and for more all intents and purposes, it'll be fine. If I had 1 exam, it'd be fine. If I had 2, it'd be okay. 3 would probably like start going downhill. How many do I need to function, do I think, at full capacity? I think about 8 is probably enough for me, I would say. At least I think it's probably diminishing returns once you get to 9 or 10 hours. The only times I would sleep in 9 or 10 hours are one, if I was back in secondary school. I did that certainly a lot more often. Nowadays I don't do so as much, but normally that's if I had like a supremely exhausting day the day before, then I would sleep in for multiple days. No, wait, hold on, not for multiple days. No, that's not happened before. But everyone needs a different amount of hours of sleep. But it's crazy how few hours some people can get away with. Like, I mean, me getting away with like 6 to 8, I think it's probably skewing slightly on the below average side. I imagine the actual average is probably around 8, maybe. That sounds about reasonable. And then people can have anywhere from 6 to 10. But some people just like get away with like 4 hours sleep or something, which is weird. But the more I think about it, actually, back in secondary school, I used to sleep for like 5 hours a day, I think. Because I don't remember why, but I used to wake up at 6 a.m. and back in secondary school, and I used to go to sleep at like 12 to 1 a.m. For really no apparent reason. I didn't need to wake up at 6 a.m. to get to school. School didn't start till like 9 something, and I didn't live that far away from school. I could have woken up at 7 and still been like had time to burn in the morning. I had no idea why I woke up at 6. Most days. I mean, to say I didn't really do much after I woke up. No, I woke up at 6 and basically just sort of chilled around in bed until 10, or so, kind of like that. Or I do very small things. I was going to say read a book, but I don't think I like really read many books, especially back in secondary school time. But yeah, but basically there was no point of me waking up so early. And genuinely, I have no idea why I did, even in the first place. It's just sort of like, it was so pointless, I suppose, is how I describe it. Just like, or maybe unnecessary is perhaps a better way to put it. Just like, I don't know why I did that. I could have given myself more sleep. I think it was maybe I shouldn't say statistically, but there's scientific studies taken on like teenagers and being like, hey, how much sleep do they need to be able to operate at max efficiency, and then like teenage years is when they start needing more sleep compared to, you know, younger years, and then as you get older from teenage to an adulthood, then you start needing less again, or something like that. I don't know the exact details on that, and maybe I just made that all up, so, you know, take everything I've said with quite a grain of salt. It's perhaps how, you know, I'd sort of warn you. But yeah, it's weird to think about, because that was something I did like every day, I suppose, you know, 5 days a week on like 5 hours sleep for, you know, however many years. I mean, to be fair, I don't think I woke up at 6 a.m. throughout my entire schooling career. I think it was only during sixth form. I genuinely have no idea why. You know, if I go back in time, would I change it? Like, I guess, but it really wouldn't make much of a difference. I'm going to be perfectly honest. Like, me waking up at 6 and me waking up at 7. I think that might not necessarily be true, but, you know, your mileage may vary, is perhaps how, you know, I'd sum up that entire experience. But yeah, and it's just a bit strange to think about. And I only say it's strange to think about because thinking about me now is like, I mean, I don't always get up like when I should. I mean, basically, most days I will get my 6 to 7ish hours of sleep, and then like on days I can, I might as well get my 8 hours of sleep, because then I'm like, why not function at max capacity? Because sometimes I have found, especially as I got on older, if I get like 5 or 4 hours of sleep, I just end up kind of like sleeping in my seat in the evening. You know, I'm on my computer doing stuff, and I'm like, I'm just gonna close my eyes for a bit when I listen to like Northern Lion play whatever game he's playing at the moment, and then, you know, I just sort of like wake up being like, oh, I just like had a power nap for half an hour, and then I would just make a mental note being like, yeah, I was probably too tired that day. I mean, it also doesn't help when you sort of just sit down for a long period of time, which is why I suppose I encourage you to get up and walk around, you know, stretch your legs every now and then, because otherwise you will, I don't know, fatigue yourself. And also deep vein thrombosis is probably not the greatest thing to sort of develop. But yeah, I don't know where I was really going with this. I mean, you can try, if you're someone who wants to, you can try doing that sleep cycle thing where it's like you sleep for in power naps of like half an hour like spurts throughout the day, and then it like totals up to like you sleep for like you sleep for like 2 hours total, in 6 sessions throughout a day, sleeping for like 20 minutes each or something, which honestly it sounds like an absolute nightmare. Would I ever try that? I mean, maybe I'd try it for a little bit, but I can't imagine it'd be something I want to stick with. One, because it's kind of inconvenient, you know. The waking world sort of does not operate to the beat of allowing you to have like 20-minute naps, I suppose, in the middle of the day. So depending, you know, life situation you're in, if you are allowed that sort of luxury and then you can fit it in and, you know, it works well for you, then by all means don't let me stop you, you know, doing whatever you want, to be honest. Like, I don't think you should be letting me stop you in the first place, but yeah, I don't know where I was really going with this, to be honest. It's just sort of like, ain't it interesting? Isn't it ironic? Don't you think? It's not really ironic. With how many hours people need sleep. And it's the thing, right, where we're sleeping, where you're meant to sleep in time periods of like 1.5 hours, right? Because that's how long it takes to get like a full sleep, full REM like sleep cycle in or something. Otherwise you'll be doing yourself a disservice, right? Because if you don't do that, then it's something like, let me think, hold on. If you don't do that, then it's something like you're waking up in the middle of an REM sleep cycle, which makes you feel like more tired than you would had you alternatively just like slept normally for the entire time. That's as I understand it. I'm trying to think, because like, I wonder how long what I was going to say is like how long my bedtime's been at like midnight or so for. Because it's been certainly for like probably since I was a teenager or so. Obviously it was not like that when I was a child. I don't think my parents let me stay up till like midnight when I was like 5 or something, and if they did, maybe it was like New Year's, but I probably just fell asleep anyway. Because it reminds me, back in primary school, when I was in year 2 or 1, I can't remember, I was friends with this girl, and she like, I remember she came round to my house once, and then she was talking like, it was like past 6 p.m. I can't remember why she was at my house so late. Like, I think it was like, maybe it was like an after school thing or something. I genuinely don't remember. But I remember her telling me, it was like, oh wow, I can't believe I get to stay up so late today. And I was like, oh, well, like what time is your normal like bedtime? And her normal bedtime was like 6 p.m, which I was like, so year 1 is like 5-ish. So she was like 5 to 7-ish, and in that sort of like age range. And I just remember thinking at the time, being like, what? your bedtime is 6 p.m. I'm like, that's like literally when I eat dinner. Like I go to sleep at like, at that age I was like, oh, I go to sleep at like 9 p.m. or something, which is, I don't know. Certainly, I don't know if that's an appropriate time for that age to go to sleep. I've not raised a child, so I wouldn't really know. I would consult other people on that matter. But it's just sort of feeling like, I remember at the time being like, I can't believe you get to sleep at 6 p.m. Like, school itself finishes at like 3:30 or something. You probably get home at like 4. You're eating dinner at like 5 o'clock or something. I mean, you're just like immediately going to bed. How do you have... You don't have time to do anything, even as a child. I know she's a child. She probably... It's not like she has like huge amounts of things to be doing. When you're a child, you certainly have the most time. But it's like, you gotta have time to enjoy yourself as a child, right? I mean, it's like, if she goes to sleep at 6 and wakes up at 7, she's sleeping for like 13 hours. That seems like a really long time. Granted, maybe that's something which worked for her, and maybe I shouldn't be judging, and I'm not judging, is probably what I mean to say. It's just sort of like, at the time, it's such a different concept to me. I suppose that when you're a child, you only know what you know, right? So, the fact that other people could have like different sleeping requirements is totally different and alien. Like, I don't even remember like having naps when I was a child. I'm sure I did. Like, because that's a thing which like children do, is you're meant to have like, isn't it like they have like a mid-afternoon nap and then like a proper sleep, and then like at some age, like when they're 4, they stop needing it or something like that. Because, actually, now I think about it, I remember we used to do that like in reception and nursery sometimes. Now I think about it, we used to go to sleep for a little bit in the middle of the day, like a mid-afternoon nap or whatever. Which, amusingly, I started doing that again back when I was in university, because I was just like incredibly tired. In university, I was incredibly sleep deprived, and I remember that much. I was probably operating on like 3 to 4 hours of sleep on weekdays, and on the weekends I would just sleep into like lunchtime because I was so tired. I would suggest not the best way to do things, but certainly you're figuring stuff out when you're in university, and you're keeping yourself busy, or at least you're trying to. At least I was trying to, and you've got a lot of work to do at the same time. So it's sort of like, Can you keep everything like up in the air? Can you keep it juggling? How many like balls, pins, or like hoops can you juggle all at one time? And the answer is, when you're in university, is you get like you've got to like try and juggle like 7, and then you realise, wait a minute, no, I don't need to juggle it like this. I mean, you find out more efficient ways to do things, and then you're fine. Or you figure out like what, or, prioritization of like what's important, what's not, etc., etc. I don't know. That's just like general life advice. I don't know what I'm saying about through all of this, and it's all meaningless in the end. But yeah, oh man, I certainly don't miss those days in secondary school. Not secondary school, a university of like, well, okay, I do kind of miss those days in university, but I mean, miss the sleep deprivation, I suppose, university. But there's even this one time, which my friend, she likes to remind me about it, because I'm known as a pretty punctual person and an organised person. I would say, like, I keep to certain, you like, hey, let's meet up this time, I will keep to that time, etc., etc., and I keep people informed, etc., and I tend to basically not be late to things, is certainly what I gained a reputation for. In fact, when, I first met my friend, and then, like, it was this one time, I can't remember, during, like, 2nd or 3rd year, like, I just, like, we said we were going to meet up at Nando's with another friend, and we were going to, like, have a meal. I don't remember why, maybe just in general or something, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna have like a small afternoon nap, and then I just like slept I overslept by like an hour or something, missing like the time we were going to meet up, and I went, oh no. Anyway, she likes to remind me of it, because it was such a like a, as she describes it, a very unusual event for me, to completely miss out on like well, I didn't miss out, I got there just like an hour late, but to be so late to something, and to like, it's not even that I forgot about it, because I don't tend to not forget about the things. It's like I even set an alarm for myself to be like, okay, wake me up in 20 minutes, wake me up in half an hour, just to make sure I don't miss out this social like event. And I promised a friend, and then I just was so tired that day, I slept through both alarms. And the only reason I was woken up was my friend. She messaged like one of her friends and was like, hey, can you go ring on like dear darling's doorbell to see if she's like actually like asleep or something? And that woke me. I just remember like waking up in a haze, being like, the doorbell rang, and I was like, what's going on? And then I looked at the time and I went, oh my god. That was a big panic. Anyway, obviously it was not really much to panic about. I was just meeting up with my friends, and my friends are cool people, so they're just like, just find it funny if anything. But that was, when you're waking up with a situation where you're like, oh, I'm like so late, it's certainly not a very good feeling, and thankfully it's not one that I've had to have very often. I would say, whether due to sleep cycles or whether due to, you know, as many alarms as I need, or I don't know, because it's weird. I'm quite a heavy sleeper, I would say. I can sleep through like anything. Okay, maybe not anything, but I can sleep for a lot. Like, apparently when I was younger, it was like a little earthquake that happened in UK, like when I was much younger, and then, you know, like my parents and my sister, like my family, like felt it. They were like, "Whoa, what? And do you feel that in the morning?" And I was like, I genuinely had no idea what happened. Oh, my shovel. But yeah, apparently I could sleep for like a mini earthquake or whatever. It wasn't a big earthquake, you know. It wasn't like very high on Richter scale. I think it was like a 3 or 4 on Richter scale or something. But it's basically as far as it goes in UK. But what was I going to say about this? Yeah, so I can sleep for a lot, but, you know, alarms are very good at waking me up. I think it's like I have an inherent sense of time. You know, everyone's got like an internal clock or whatever. And maybe my internal clock isn't particularly amazing, I think, at counting things or whatever. But I have a very good internal alarm clock when I'm like, I need to wake up at this exact minute, I suppose, in the morning. Every single time, I always wake up like a couple of minutes just before my alarm. It's fantastic, you know. And every time I manage to sleep and I get woken up by my alarm, I'm just like, I think to myself, I'm like, that means I was probably in a bad sleep cycle, or I went to sleep like way later than I should have. It's sort of like indicative of my sleeping patterns of a day before, which I guess makes sense, that my waking patterns of a day after mirrors my sleeping patterns of a day before. That just kind of seems reasonable, doesn't it? Ooh, finally, the colourful shovel again. We got to actually remember to actually customise these to make sure they don't break. I don't know if we have enough customisation kits or anything, but not a sapling. Yeah. So yeah, no, sometimes used to take mid-afternoon naps back in university times. And I don't anymore. Because, well, sort of. If I'm on long transport journeys, like if I'm on the train for a very long time, then I will definitely sleep on the train, because I'm like, why not? Not like it's particularly fun, but it's like, what else am I going to do? Like, I don't really like doing things on the train. You know, some people like to browse on my phones. I like to browse on my phone a bit, but I don't like doing it for like multiple hour train journeys or something. That just doesn't feel right to me. And then I don't particularly like reading a book on a train because it's kind of shaky. Unless it's on a really still train. If they're like one of those, like across, what's the word? Across like country. It's not really the word I wanted. Trains where they're quite still, or, you know, stabilised, or you have like basically like a little table to work on. Yeah, I consider reading a book or doing something. But I don't know. But for me personally, I don't really like working on a train. Saying that, I used to, back in university, sometimes when I go back home and I take the train, I used to do like some of my coursework, or not coursework, schoolwork, university work, on the train. Which, I don't know, train's just not a working environment for me. Train, very much a sleeping environment. Plane's also a sleeping environment. That's also maybe because I like never tended to bring my laptop and have stuff that I could like work on a train. You know, would I draw stuff on a train? Maybe. Depends what I was drawing, I suppose. I don't have a tablet. I mean, I've been saying it for ages. I'm like, oh, I should get like a Microsoft Surface or like a touchscreen laptop to basically use as a tablet as well. And maybe if I had one of those and I started travelling around and carrying it, maybe then I'd start doing stuff on the train. But as of right now, the only things I do on the train are sleep. I mean, sometimes I do like writing stuff, like my writing group. I write stories on the train, or like other things like that, but that's basically it. Most of the time it's just sleep. Maybe that's why I think I only need like a few hours of sleep every single day, is that I'm sleeping on the long transports instead. But it's not really, it's just like I wake up later, I suppose, otherwise. Let me think, because I normally go to sleep at like 1, and then I'll wake up at like 8 or something. Provided, like, imagine I had no obligations for that day. So that's about 7 hours of sleep. And then if I had to like, wake up and take a train early in the morning, then I'll wake up at 6:30ish or something, and I'll go to sleep also probably at 1. So then I'll... Yeah, so it adds up to about 7.5 hours of sleeping throughout the day as well. I don't know, it just all works out basically. Anyway, sleeping hours, I guess, that'll probably be this title. So for now, if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Any likes, comments, subscription, shares are greatly appreciated. Twitter, Discord down below. Hope we see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye bye for now.